Therefore, considering these words of Aristotle, Alexander posited that it is possible for the intellect to be some kind of power in us, so that the common definition of the soul assigned by Aristotle in De Anima too can suit him. But because he could not understand that any intellectual substance was the form of a body, he held that the aforesaid virtue was not founded on any intellectual substance, and the consequent mixing of the elements in the human body. For the determined mode of the mixture of the human body makes a man capable of receiving the influence of the agent's intellect, which is always in action. And according to him there is a kind of separate substance, from which influence man becomes actually intelligent. Now that in man, by which there is an understanding power, is a possible understanding. But it seems at first glance that this position is contrary to Aristotle's words and demonstration. For Aristotle shows in 3 De Anima, as has been said, that the possible intellect is mixed with the body. Now this is impossible to say of any power resulting from the mixture of elements, for what is of this kind must be found in the very mixture of elements, as we see with taste and smell and the like. Therefore, the aforesaid position of Alexander cannot stand with the words and demonstration of Aristotle, as it seems. To this, Alexander says that the possible intellect is the very preparation in human nature to receive the influence of the acting intellect. But the preparation itself is not determined by any sensible nature, nor is it mixed with the body. For there is a kind of relation and order of one thing to another. But this is manifestly at odds with Aristotle's intention. For Aristotle proves from this that the possible intellect does not have a determinate nature of sensible things, and consequently that it is not mixed with the body, because it is receptive of all sensible forms and cognizant of them. This cannot be understood of preparation, because it is not his to receive, but rather to be prepared. Aristotle's demonstration, therefore, does not proceed from preparation, but from some prepared recipient. Further, if what Aristotle says about the possible intellect agree with him insofar as it is a preparation, and not prepared by the nature of the subject, it follows that they agree with all preparation. In the sense, however, there is a kind of preparation for the actual reception of sensible things. Therefore, the same must be said of possible sense and understanding. To which Aristotle clearly adds the opposite, showing the difference between the reception of the sense and the intellect, from the fact that the sense is corrupted by the excellence of objects, but not the intellect. Again, Aristotle ascribes to the possible intellect to suffer from the intelligible, to receive intelligible species, to be in power to them. He also compares it to a tablet on which nothing is written. All these things cannot be said of the preparation, but of the prepared subject. It is therefore contrary to Aristotle's intention that the possible understanding is preparation itself. Still, the agent is nobler than the patient and the doing of the deed as the act of power. But the more immaterial something is, the more noble it is. Therefore, the effect cannot be more immaterial than its cause. But every cognitive virtue as such is immaterial, whence also concerning sense, which is the lowest in the order of cognitive virtues, Aristotle says in 2 De Anima that it is receptive of sensible species without matter. It is therefore impossible for any cognitive power to be caused by a mixture of elements. But the possible understanding is the supreme cognitive power in us, for Aristotle says in 3 De Anima that the possible understanding is by which the soul knows and understands. Therefore, the possible understanding is not caused by the mixing of the elements. Further, if the principle of any operation proceeds from some causes, that operation must not go beyond those causes, since the second cause acts by virtue of the first. But the operation of the nutritive soul also exceeds the power of the elementary qualities. For Aristotle proves in Tu De Anima that fire is not the cause of growth, but caused in some way, and the main cause is the soul, to which heat is compared as an instrument for the artist. Therefore, a vegetable soul cannot be produced from a mixture of elements. Therefore, much less sense and understanding is possible. Again, to understand is a certain operation in which it is impossible to communicate with any bodily organ. Now this operation is attributed to the soul, or even to man, for it is said that the soul understands, or man through the soul. There must therefore be some principle in man not dependent on the body, which is the principle of such an operation. The preparation following the mixing of the elements obviously depends on the body. Therefore, preparation is not such a principle, but the intellect is possible. For Aristotle says in chapter 3 on the soul that the intellect is possible by which the soul conceives and understands. Therefore, the understanding is not a possible preparation. But if it is said that the principle of the aforesaid operation in us is an intelligible species, made in act by the acting intellect, this seems not to be sufficient. Because when a man becomes actually intelligent from an intelligent power, it is necessary that he not only understand through an intelligible species, through which he becomes actually intelligent, but through some intellectual power, which is the principle of the aforesaid operation, as also happens in the sense. But this power is called by Aristotle the possible intellect. Therefore, understanding is possible, not dependent on the body. In addition, a species is not actually intelligible except insofar as it is purified from material being. But this cannot happen as long as it is in some material power, namely which is caused by material principles, or which is a material act of the organ. It is therefore necessary to posit some immaterial intellectual power in us. What is possible understanding? Still, the possible understanding is called by Aristotle a part of the soul. But the soul is not a preparation, but an act, for preparation is the order of the power to act. However, the act is followed by some preparation for a further act, just as the act of transparency follows the order of the act of light. Therefore, the understanding that is possible is not the preparation itself, but a certain act. Further, man attains human appearance and nature according to the part of the soul proper to him, which indeed is the possible intellect, but nothing succeeds to species and nature according to what it is in potentiality, but according to what it is in actuality. Since then, preparation is nothing else than the order of the power to act. It is impossible that the possible intellect is nothing else than a kind of preparation existing in human nature.